Alright guys, it's been a while since I've done a video on luxury designer fragrances, and when I'm talking about luxury designer fragrances, I'm referring to their, their private blends and less exclusives and privé collection and those kind of collection of fragrances. And you guys have been messaging me to do this updated list, so I thought I'd put together a video. And since we are going into the holidays and perhaps you're looking for a gift and you enjoy the luxury designer fragrances, and this could be a great video to find some gifts for someone or yourself. So find out about my top 20 luxury designer fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yesterday we're talking about luxury designer fragrances, the private blends, the privé collections, the LAVALIERRE collections. There's a lot of different collection names. I won't name all of them, and I've left off some collections. And also I just want to but mention Mugler. I'm a big fan of Mugler, and I have a lot of their less exceptions fragrances, but sadly I don't know what the heck is going on with the brand. None of them are on the Mugler USA website. There's some that are selling in Europe, various websites, but the one that I wanted to feature over the Musk I couldn't find, so I've left that off. But we've got some great new collections. I've left off some designers I didn't want to get into, didn't feel like they deserved to be on this list. But we're gonna go ahead and get started with the first fragrance, and this is sadly not a kind of an underwhelming collection, but I have my favorite from this collection. The designer is Dries van Noten, and he launched his like private blend or whatever the collection is called earlier this year, and I finally ended up buying Cannabis Patchouli. So we're going to start off with Cannabis Patchouli at number 20 from Dries van Noten. Have you guys gotten your nose on this particular collection? I was told it's selling at Saks Fifth Avenue in New York City, but it hasn't made it here in San Francisco anywhere yet. But I think out of all of them, this one and the Patchouli, I think there's another Patchouli, or was it called, I can't remember the name, were my favorites. Both of them kind of similar fragrances. But this is kind of very earthy patchouli and also kind of bitter green cannabis. And there's some clary sage here, vetiver, musk, bergamot, cedar leaf. So it definitely has a citrusiness here, lots of earthiness. Definitely the cannabis comes in. It's bitter, it's a bit camphoric. And I feel like there's grapefruit here as well to give you that fresh experience here in the fragrance. But it's a wonderful fragrance. I enjoy it, but I put it here at number 20. The collection is a bit underwhelming. Great looking bottles though. Moving on to the house of Givenchy, I've got two fragrances here from the Particulier. This collection is called Collection Particulier. This is Givenchy's MMW, recently featured in my Palo Santo fragrances video. And what I like about this one, it's creamy, it's lots of woods. There's a bit of an ambery touch in here because it features Ambroxan, but it's got that kind of like very interesting kind of sexy muskiness in here that Ambroxan gives in fragrances. I really love Ambroxan. I used to hate it, but I've grown to really enjoy it, especially when a fragrance kind of has that kind of very musky, ambery kind of amber, woods, dusty, a bit aquatic, a bit marine, lots of musk, that kind of an experience. I'm all over it. But this is a really, really great fragrance. It's great to wear. It's a bit calming with that Palo Santo. Lots of woods though, and some spices, but definitely very musky. So Givenchy MMW is the first of two fragrances from that house. Moving on to the BVLGARI Legem collection, it's TYGAR at number 18. This one is really, really delicious. It's created by Jacques Cavalier. This is grapefruit, Ambroxan, and wood, so it's got ambery touches, and once again it's got that kind of very sexy kind of Ambroxan, musky, amber kind of woods, dry woods, and also a bit aquatic marine touch. But the grapefruit is very zingy, there's a spice and bite to the grapefruit, so it's also very citrusy, but the combination is really, really great. I really love it. It smells fantastic in the heat. BVLGARI TYGAR at number 18. Moving on to Louis Vuitton, another fragrance that Jacques Cavalier has made. It's Nouveau Monde. I'm kind of going to be surprising you with my choices in this video probably, but Nouveau Monde is such an underrated fragrance from this house. Also quite animalic and very oody. Very, very much oody. It's in the masculine collection, so it's very, very masculine. I feel like this particular fragrance itself is very masculine and very animalic. So it's a butch fragrance if you like the idea of butch fragrances. It's oud with leather, cacao, saffron, rose, olibanum, caramel, vanilla, amberwood. For me, it kind of smells a bit more animalic and a bit chocolatey take on something like Gucci Guilty Absolute, something in that kind of a vein or direction, but really love it. It's very underrated, but definitely deserves to be on this list. It's one of 2 Louis Vuitton fragrances. So Nouveau Monde at number 17. Up next, going to the house of Gucci. It's the last day of summer. This is one of 2 Gucci Alchemist Garden collection fragrances. The collection has gotten really big now. Are you a fan of this collection? Let me know if, put a comment down. The last day of summer is a really solid offering, although it's not really anything groundbreaking, but I feel like the way it's made is a really great scent, and it features lots of Cypress, Vetiver, Cedar, Nutmeg, and Patchouli. It definitely has the smell and feeling of the last day of summer, or the summer, you know, kind of turning into autumn kind of a fragrance. So you have those kind of like very dry, very Northern California dry kind of smells here, which I'm absolutely into and also very used to when I'm not in San Francisco, outside of, and I can experience that kind of Northern California dry Indian summer kind of weather. So this really captures that smell. It's the last day of summer from the house of Gucci at number 16. This might surprise you, but I'm going with this particular fragrance from this house. It's the only fragrance I have from this house. It's Armani Privé collection. It's Musk Shamal. I went with this one because Rose d'Arabie, you know, I'm kind of bored of the rose oud thing, or even just the oud thing. So I've gone with this one here. It's a little more exciting. I'm really into musk. Plus this one also has rose. It's powdery. It's very cozy. A bit kind of like powdered milk touch in here, but lots of musk with rose. There's vanilla, jasmine, norinol, and aldehydes. So it's got a kind of a fizziness, also very light. It's very airy, but powdery for sure, and definitely kind of a rosy musk. Really beautiful. Really enjoy this one. It's number 15, Armani's Musk Shamal. If you guys know that one, let me know. I think that Neiman Marcus removed the Armani Privé collection from our store here. I don't see it anymore. But thankfully, the Lavaliere collection from YSL is still there. And recently, I bought this particular fragrance from the Lavaliere collection. It's the Lavaliere fragrance that just recently came out. This is delicious. It's rose and figs together. You've got the fruitiness and also the greenness of the fig in here, along with rose. And it's kind of like a combo of green and fruity and rosy together. Very fresh. It kind of takes on a characteristic of a light reminder of something like L'Ombre d'An L'Eau. Less of a greenness that L'Ombre d'An L'Eau has from Diptyque, but lots of fruitiness here because L'Ombre d'An L'Eau does not have that fruitiness. The fragrance is just fresh and very green and fruity together. There's definitely the citrusy touches, bergamot, blackcurrant. There's aromatic touches here and floral touches of geranium and jasmine with some earthiness and muskiness. Definitely really wonderful to wear. I bought this like a month and a half ago, and I think it's going to be a perfect scent in the summertime. So Lavaliere is at number 14 from the house of YSL. Going back to Gucci, it's Hortus Sanitatis. This is the second and last Gucci fragrance or Alchemist Garden fragrance. This is an acquired taste, but I really love the way it smells. Lots of papyrus in this one. The papyrus is a very distinct, unique smell. And in this particular fragrance, it kind of smells barbecued. It has a rosiness in there, but it's vetiver, papyrus, ginger, and cedar. The smell is very unique and enjoyable to wear. I feel like it's one of the most unique fragrances out of the whole entire Gucci Alchemist Garden fragrances, and that's why it's here. But sadly, I enjoy the other fragrances more, but in the collection of the Alchemist Garden, this is my favorite. But either way, if you don't know this one, check it out, especially if you like papyrus. There's definitely rosiness here. I don't know why I'm getting rosiness. Like, it's there, but they don't mention rose, as I mentioned. It also kind of is very masculine leaning, but definitely has a kind of a weird barbecue kind of a rose smell, which I really like here. Anyway, Hortus Sanitatis from the house of Gucci from the Alchemist Garden collection. It's number 13. And speaking of roses, here we have Tom Ford's Noir de Noir, this one right here. Noir de Noir, it was my very first Tom Ford fragrance purchase, and it's gotten thinner. And you know, all of the designer fragrances have gotten thinner, including Tobacco Vanille, but I really love the way these fragrances smell, so I keep featuring them. But you should definitely use caution when purchasing these very expensive fragrances. If you're into the idea of longevity, test them out prior, get a sample, a decant, or you know, sample it in a store. But man, Noir de Noir is so delicious. I wore so much of it back in 2014 when I first bought it. I think it was 2013. But it's lots of rose, patchouli, there's truffle, there's vanilla, oud, saffron, oak moss, and floral notes. But it's a chypre, it's kind of a chocolatey undertones, very earthy, definitely dark rose experience here, but beautiful fragrance. Noir de Noir at number 12, great fragrance from the house of Tom Ford. Alright, moving on to number 11, it's Celine Bois Dormant, this one right here, their latest fragrance. This is definitely taking their DNA, the orris or iris DNA that the fragrances have all throughout the collection, and also kind of aromatic juniper thrown in there. So there's got lots of juniper in here, so it creates this kind of like a crystallized effect in the fragrance, very aromatic and also spicy, contrasted with the powderiness from the orris butter. But there's lots of woods here, cedar and vetiver, and then of course some citrusy touches of bergamot. Makes for a very classy fragrance. I really love it. You have the DNA of the Celine fragrances in here, but it's bright and kind of crystallized with that juniper, very aromatic and also powdery and citrusy. So Celine Bois Dormant, really a great offering from that house. I really enjoy the fragrances of that house, but warning you again, they're very subdued experiences, so they're not the beastly fragrances, if that makes sense. Moving on to a more beastly fragrance from the house of Cartier. This is Oud Radeau in their, you know, higher end collection of fragrances. And I said I don't like ouds much, but this one is really a ginger bomb. It's a ginger bomb with oud, very aromatic, very spicy, very zingy, and I love the combination of the oud in here with the ginger. There's also some Sichuan pepper here, so it adds some spice, a bit lemoniness from that Sichuan pepper in here thrown in to give you a bit of a light citrusy effect, but it doesn't really like have citrusiness because Sichuan pepper is a spice after all, kind of related to the black pepper or pink pepper, but it has light lemony undertones, but it kind of blends beautifully with the ginger because the ginger can use a little bit lemon and it does here from that Sichuan pepper. Really great fragrance. Really love that zing in here from the ginger. Cartier Oud Radeau at number 10. I've turned so many people onto that fragrance and they love it. Moving on to the house of Givenchy once again from their collection particulière. This is Noctambule. Really a beautiful rose oud combo. Okay, we're back to rose and oud, but I really love the way this one smells because the cumin in here is really alive, and it's kind of like a snap, crackle, pop when you wear it against the agarwood and the grass rose that's in here. So if you like the idea of cumin with rose and oud and things like that, you've got to try this one. But in addition to the cumin and the rose and the oud, you've got some papyrus in here and pink pepper. And I do need to put together a video on papyrus because it's a great note that comes up quite a bit. Not necessarily like the main star in fragrances. In this case here with this one, it's a supporting player, but it's a very unique note of very similar to Cypriol, which I do have a video, but it has this kind of earthiness, kind of like a combination of patchouli, vetiver, woods together, a bit of smokiness, very unique note, and it really helps this fragrance come alive. It's become one of my favorite designer oud and rose fragrances, and I absolutely love it. It's Noctambule from the house of Givenchy. Check that out if you don't know it. Moving on to the house of Van Cleef & Arpels from their collection Extraordinaire. This is Orchid Leather. Orchid Leather created by Julien Rascanet. He did a great job with this one. It's actually a vanillic leather, which to me smells fantastic. And it features plums as well. And I feel like Julien Rascanet loves to use plums because he has it in various other fragrances. But this one is so good. Really great. It's not necessarily a syrupy vanilla in here. It's more of an ambery, dry, kind of a resinous vanilla. There's incense, there's the plums, the labdanum and cardamom. So it's got some spice, bit of fruitiness, but in the end it's the vanilla and the leather. And again, it's orchid leather, really delicious smelling, almost like gourmand leather. So Orchid Leather at number 8. It's from the house of Van Cleef & Arpels. And also I should let you guys know it's Saturday today. I'll be at Neiman Marcus working with Van Cleef & Arpels. So if you guys are into the idea of discovering a collection extraordinaire from Van Cleef & Arpels, come by and see me from 1 to 6. Alright, at number 7, it's Chanel's Coromandel from the Less Exclusives collection of fragrances. Man, this is so good. It's patchouli and creamy, ambery, and lightly smoky. And according to the Chanel website, it's patchouli with benzoin and frankincense. They don't ever mention white chocolate, and I feel like that benzoin in here definitely has some creaminess and definitely has some vanillic touches. So it creates this effect of white chocolate in here, contrasted with the patchouli. The patchouli, generally, when you compare, connect it with ambery notes such as the benzoin, does create a chocolatey effect. But in this case with Coromandel, it's the white chocolate, and it's super delicious with a little bit of an ambery base as well, along with some light smokiness. This is a fantastic patchouli fragrance, totally beautiful, from the house of Chanel. It's Coromandel. If you guys don't know that one, definitely check it out. Moving on to the house of Tom Ford. Once again, it's the last Tom Ford fragrance. This is Tobacco Vanille at number 6. You guys know all about this one. I talk about it quite a bit. It's tobacco with vanilla, so lots of tobacco and vanilla together. You've got the leaf and the flower in this one. There's also some gingery zing in here. There's spices, there's fruits, there's cocoa, and other woody notes as well. But it's a really, really delicious fragrance, kind of very holiday-ish. It's got that holiday vibe, so definitely deserves to be here because I really love the way it smells, because it's a very intoxicating smell. Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille at number 6. And then moving on to the house of Dior. I haven't brought up Dior yet. I've got a couple of Dior fragrances coming up. This is Feb Delicious at number 5. And this has been a #1 fragrance for me for such a long time. It's the tonka beans and bitter almond combo fragrance that's really super delicious. Features lots of tonka beans with vanilla. There's caramel. There's a bit of chocolatey cacao touch in here. Light cherry. There's benzoin leather. Coconut and lavender. To me, it's lightly hinting at a amber fougere fragrance, just because of that lavender and the tonka beans. Typically in a fougere there's lavender and tonka beans, so it kind of goes there, but very, very lightly. But in the end it's a very bitter, almondy, sweet, powdery, gourmand fragrance. Feb Delicious by Dior at number 5. Moving on to the house of Louis Vuitton. Once again, this is the last fragrance from Louis Vuitton. It's Ombre Nomade. A really solid designer oud fragrance. Not oud and rose this time, but more oud with maybe perhaps a light hint of rose in there. Very, very light. Maybe a bit of fruitiness in there. There's oud, there's benzoin, there's incense, the raspberry. So it's smoky, it's balsamic, woody, spicy, warm. Definitely really, really solid oud fragrance from the house of Louis Vuitton. Really great longevity as well. And it does have some of that great projection and sillage you want, but I wouldn't call it like uber beast mode, but still it has a really, really great performance for a designer oud. Ombre Nomade at number 4 from the house of Louis Vuitton. Up next, going to the house of YSL, the Lavaliere collection of fragrances. Once again, this is the last one. This is Baby Cat. Have you guys been able to find Baby Cat yet in stores? I haven't seen it at Neiman Marcus, but I'll be going there soon. I'll check it out. But Baby Cat definitely deserves the number 3 spot. It's a vanilla in the end, not going completely gourmand. So it's got that kind of churchy, incensey vibe with the olibanum in here. But not only does it have the vanilla and olibanum, it's a great contrast. Lots of vanilla with lots of olibanum, so that churchy effect comes from that olibanum. You've got that kind of complementary black pepper note in here with saffron, so it's a bit leathery, spicy. There's cedarwood, suede accord, elemi, pink pepper. So it's spicy, leathery, vanillic, and incensey. Really a great fragrance, really a job well done here. But the criticism with this fragrance is it's not the first fragrance that smells like this, sadly. But still, I really love the way it smells. YSL Baby Cat at number 3. At number 2, it's Dior's Vanilla Diorama. This one, it's kind of beat out. It's definitely beat out Feb Delicious. I really love it, but I've spoken about that one for quite a while. Dior Vanilla Diorama is that very syrupy, thick and gooey vanilla with a very citrusy top and spicy presence with the pink pepper and cardamom. There's bourbon vanilla. There's dusting of chocolate and cacao in here. Definitely some booziness. It's the ultimate gourmand and a job well done. I really love gourmands, and I think Francois Demachet created a really delicious fragrance inspired by Christian Dior and his you know, but his stops at Maxime's restaurant to have a cake there, and it's inspired by the cake. But either way, Dior Vanilla Diorama at number 2, really yummy fragrance. Can you guess my number 1? Oh, some of you are gonna hate this one. It's Chanel Le Lion. Yes, it is a Chanel fragrance. Yes, it is a really great fragrance. Yes, it does have similarities to or reminders of Shalimar. Yes, it might have some hints to Coromandel and even fainter hints to Coeur de Russie from the Chanel house as well. Le Lion deserves the number 1 spot. I think it's one of the best designer fragrances from a long time. But it is in the luxury collection, the Les Exclusives collection, but really, really a job well done. Really great fragrance. It's labdanum with amber, patchouli, vanilla, sandalwood, musk, lemon, bergamot. Really a great, great fragrance. Very long lasting. A bit animalic, a bit smoky, definitely sweet, definitely citrusy, and also very much ambery. Great fragrance. Number 1 fragrance is Chanel's Le Lion. And that's the list, the top 20 luxury designer fragrances list. Is there anything missing? What would you have added to the list? How would you have ranked the fragrances? Put a comment down so I can find out. Don't do the whole list, do 5. And if there's anything else I should check out from another designer that I didn't even mention here, please let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Okay, I've got two bonuses for you guys. The first one is a kind of a complicated fragrance to get. It's discontinued in the States, and according to the Estee Lauder rep, I was told this is still selling in the UK and the EU, or maybe even the Middle East. It's Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud. I didn't feature it at #1 because it's tough to get, right? But when I did the Tom Ford list, I featured it at #1. But this is a really, really great dirty tobacco. It's got some booziness. There's spices, there's sandalwood, there's patchouli incense, and of course the tobacco. It's that dirty, ashy tobacco that's in Tobacco Vanille. It's brought in here, but it's a completely different fragrance because there's no vanilla here. It's not a vanilla bomb. It's just like a booziness and oudiness and spices. Just imagine you're, chain smoking a cigar or something, all that ash in the ashtray, drinking or sipping on whiskey, and it's kind of like, maybe you're gambling in some kind of not a warehouse, but like a little small room, and it's the sweat in there and all that kind of stuff mixed together. That's the kind of smell this is. This is Tom Ford Tobacco Oud. That is the bonus fragrance, and I have one more bonus. I had to feature this one. It's Chanel number 18. It's hardly talked about or spoken about. Very unique fragrance. If you're a fan of something like Egoiste, smell that fragrance and smell this side by side. See if you can find any resemblance. This is ambrette seeds, fruity notes, iris, woody notes, floral notes. Very unique fragrance, a bit medicinal, but definitely very musky. You have the kind of fruity undertones and light booziness as well. And it has that kind of reminder of Egoiste a little bit, but goes in a different direction. Anyway, love this fragrance, number 18. I was recently able to find a number 18 in Eau de Toilette. This is an Eau de Parfum that I've had for a long time, but I'm going to tell you guys about the Eau de Toilette very soon. But either way, that's all that I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Bye-bye.